guys, it's Sam and this is my haul for BEA or Book Expo America 2016. Just to let you guys know, I did not do a vlog for BEA or BookCon. I decided that I wanted to kind of live in the moment and not just be behind a camera the entire time. And because so many of my friends were doing vlogs, I felt like you could see what I was up to depending on whose vlog you watch. And I will link a bunch of people's vlogs down below so you can kind of check out the whole BEA BookCon experience. But there were so many booktubers here that I didn't really feel like my vlogging would contribute anything extra to it. So I did a lot of my vlogging through Snapchat. If you guys do not follow me on Snapchat, my link for it is down below. So I decided that was the best way to do it. I'm so happy that I did because I really enjoyed just doing in the moment vlogging through Snapchat. It's a lot more casual. Again, I didn't feel like I had to pull up my camera and miss a moment or anything like that. Like Snapchat was just so much easier and simpler, and I really enjoyed that. So I had a really great time. If you watch the vlogs and everybody else's vlogs, you'll see we had a really awesome time, and I got a ton of books that I really am excited about. I definitely kept my haul very small this year. All the books that I'm going to show are books that I really want to read. I didn't pick up anything that I was unsure about. All these books were books that I kind of knew about beforehand. I went in with a plan, and it turned out really well for me. And any books that I happened to pick up with a lot of like the rush or something in the first couple of days, I ended up giving away at BookCon. I brought some of the ARCs that I got at BEA that I didn't like really and I weren't going to fit in my suitcase to BookCon to give away to people, and I know a lot of you guys came and saw us and you really enjoyed that. So all these books are books that I'm really looking forward to, and I might actually read them during ARC August, and if I do, there'll be a whole announcement about it, but I'll link last year's announcement down below. But that's just a whole month of just reading ARCs, which is really good for after BEA. So let's get into it. One of the first things that I picked up was the Strange the Dreamer sampler by Laini Taylor. I'm actually not going to read the sampler. I got this for my friend Kayla of Bookadoodles because she was not able to attend BEA and she really wanted this, and I want to make sure that she had a little snippet of BEA because she was going to attend and then things kind of fell through. So this is for her, but I am going to keep some of these buttons. I have not read anything by Laini Taylor yet. I have the first two books in her other series on my shelf and I want to read them very soon, but this looks like it's going to speak to me just from some of the quotes that are on these buttons. So I really liked this little gift bag, and it's really cute. And I didn't get to meet Laini Taylor myself, but that's okay because, like I said, I haven't read anything by her yet. So looking forward to this book after I read the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy, and I'm really enjoying these pins. I also picked up A Shadow Bright and Burning by Jessica Cluess. This is about the first female sorceress in ages. She can control fire, and she's supposed to be a chosen one, but the back kind of alludes to the fact that she might not be a chosen one. This one comes out in September, and it sounds really interesting. I like chosen one plots, but I also like it when they take a chosen one plot and twist it on its head, and I also enjoy female sorceresses and flame abilities. So this kind of speaks to me on multiple levels, and I'm really excited to see if they twist the chosen one trope into something a little more unique and nuanced. I then picked up Emperor of the Eight Islands by Leon Hearn. Joss from Scribbles Reads actually told me about this, and I ended up picking it up because this is the first book in an epic Japanese fantasy, and it sounds really interesting. They're very short, so I'm not really sure what's going to happen with that because when I hear epic fantasy, I usually think of really long books, but the whole synopsis just speaks of a really intricate power dynamics and different kinds of like Japanese folklore weaved in and stuff, and I have never read a Japanese epic fantasy. Usually they're very medieval based, and this is very Japanese based, obviously, and it sounds really interesting. It's very short, so I thought I could give it a go without necessarily having to invest a ton in like a giant book if I'm not sure I'm going to like it, but I really like Japanese mythology and folklore and myth and everything, so really looking forward to this one. I then picked up Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This is released January 2017. This is about Scarlett, whose father has arranged a marriage for her, and she's very sad about leaving her beloved sister, as well as not getting to see the performance of Caraval, which is a once-a-year performance in which the audience participates. But something ends up happening where she does get pulled into Caraval and she is competing against somebody else in this kind of magical duel. This rings a lot of the Night Circus to me, and that is pretty much why I picked it up. It also has that whole sisterly bond, and it has the arranged marriage plot, and it has so many boxes that it's ticking, but you guys know how much I love the Night Circus, and this speaks to me like the Night Circus did with this magical competition, and it sounds like something I'm going to really enjoy. And I really lucked out with this one because this is one of the books that was really highly anticipated. So a lot of people got there really early in the morning to stand in line for a ticket and then stand in line to actually get it signed and get copies, but they actually had so many of these that I ended up going to the very back of the line when I got there later on in the day and was able to pick up a copy. So the whole universe is basically telling me throughout BEA, because I'll mention this again, this kind of plot going on with me just kind of chilling out with BEA, because last year was very high stress, but this year I just kind of relaxed and I was like, whatever happens, happens. And if I get certain books, that's cool. And I'm not gonna like run around and be crazy. I'm just gonna chill and these books will come out eventually. But I ended up getting multiple books by doing that, just by like relaxing and just like letting everything kind of roll off my back. So this is the first of many books where I just kind of went with the flow and got a really highly anticipated book of mine. The next book is The Bone Sparrow by Zana Frelon. This book is released in November. This is about a boy who's a refugee in an Australian detention center where he was born. But this is a magical realism story because in the nighttime the sea brings him gifts and he hears the whales sing and birds tell him stories, so he kind of weaves things with his imagination and you're not sure exactly what's real and what's fake. I love magical realism, so as soon as I heard that kind of synopsis I knew I had to give it a go. The next book is The Memory Book by Laura Avery. This is released in July. I actually picked up another book by Laura last year, A Million Miles Away, and I really enjoyed that one. It was very angsty, and I'll actually leave my review for it down below. But this one is her newest story, and it's an epistolary novel. So this is about a girl that's about to graduate high school, and she has a lot of big dreams for herself, but she actually has a rare genetic disorder in which her doctors are telling her her health is going to deteriorate very quickly, and she's going to lose a lot of her memories. Because of this, she keeps a lot of extensive notes to her future self, so this is told through her journal entries and different kind of cutouts and stuff, and even different like excerpts from her friends and family, so you kind of learn the story from both herself and different people and different snippets of her life, and I love stuff like that, so this sounds like it's going to be very kind of heart-wrenching but at the same time really full of life, and I am looking forward to it immensely. Speaking of novels in a different format, I also managed to grab Gemina by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. This is the second book in the Illuminae trilogy, and I am so excited to have it. Illuminae was a big book last year at BEA, and no one really knew about it last year, but this year was definitely a highly anticipated pickup for almost everybody, and I managed to snag this one right after BloggerCon. They were doing a first reads kind of giveaway thing, and I was one of the last people to get one of these, which was really exciting because I didn't have to worry about it the rest of the whole week. I'm really looking forward to this one. I loved Illuminae, and I cannot wait to dive back into this world and see what's happening. And this is kind of like a companion story because I do believe it follows different characters, but you still have the same main characters from the first book as well in it, and the first book just left me a mess because of how much I got invested in these characters and this world, and I'm really looking forward to this one, as is pretty much everybody else that read Illuminae. Another highly anticipated sequel is A Torch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir. This comes out in August, and this is the second book in the An Ember in the Ashes. I think it's a trilogy. Was it a duology? This book, I don't even want to say how many books are in this series because the first book started out as being a standalone fantasy, supposedly, even though everyone says that the ending is not at all a standalone ending. So I don't even want to mention how many books are supposed to be in this series because you never know when they might get upped. But I'm currently reading An Ember in the Ashes. I'm about halfway through as I'm filming this video, so we'll see if I can manage to get through it before the end of the month, hopefully. I've had a lot of things happen this month, so I haven't had a great reading month, but I'm really looking forward to jumping into this one really soon after I finish the first one. Hopefully in June, maybe in July, but definitely before release date. I'm really enjoying a lot of the elements of the first book and just how the fantasy is in that book, and it's a different kind of fantasy. So I'm really looking forward to this one. And this is another one where we didn't freak out. We all just kind of walked to the line, and there was a giant line, but they had so many copies of this book because there was only one signing that everyone got a book, which is awesome. I then picked up Blood for Blood by Ryan Graudin. This is released in November, and it is the second book in the Wolf by Wolf. I think it's a duology, but again, publishers like throwing curveballs at me, so I never quite know if things are going to be a duology or a trilogy, or they're going to add on a book or whatever. This is the second book in the series, so the first book is about a girl who's living in Nazi Germany because the Nazis won the war in this alternate history. And she is competing in a cross-country motorcycle race because the winner of that motorcycle race will get to meet Hitler, and she plans to assassinate Hitler. She is also a shapeshifter. I plan on marathoning the first book and this second book, hopefully in August, so I'm really looking forward to this one. I love alternate histories, and I really love the World War II time period, so this appeals to me on so many levels, and I also got to see Ryan Graudin speak at YALLFest last year, and really loved all the things she had to say, so I'm interested to finally read something by her. The next book I picked up was Three Dark Crowns by Kendar Blake. This is released in September. This is about triplet girls who have to compete for the crown on their 16th birthday. They are all renowned sorceresses in their kingdom, and whoever wins the fight between all three of them will get the crown. But what they don't know is that two of them are actually fakes, and one of them is a very powerful sorceress, but the other two are not. So this sounds really interesting. It's this whole sibling dynamic thing, and triplets that are magical, trying to kill each other in like a magical competition, and like lies, and I'm really looking forward to this. We'll see how it is. I have not read anything else by Kendra Blake at all, but this synopsis really spoke to me. I then picked up Arabella of Mars by David D. Levine. This comes out in July, and this was actually nominated for a Nebula. And this is a fantasy slash sci-fi of manners that takes place on Mars, and there are sky pirates, privateers, and there's a girl dressing up as a guy, and it's an adult science fiction fantasy kind of blend, and I'm really looking forward to this. The author of this was the nicest person. He was so excited for the people that were waiting in line for him, and he was so sweet, and I love this cover, and I love the kind of like steampunk look to it, and the whole fantasy of manners thing. So a lot of the things in this book tick my boxes, and I'm very excited to see if this lives up to the hype that I've created in my heart. I then picked up Furthermore by Tahara Mafi. This comes out in August, and it was another one of the books that I didn't stress about. I didn't wait in the long line. We were going to another signing, and I thought, it's okay, the book will come out. But right after that signing, we walked over to this signing, and Tahara was still there. The ticket people had all ran out, and there was just handing out books to people that were walking up and stuff. So we got our book in 2 minutes, met Tahara, and got it signed, and it was awesome. Again, a way that the universe is telling me to just chill and relax, and things will work out. So I'm very excited to have this. I really enjoyed the Shatter Me trilogy, and this is her new middle grade book. The cover is stunning. I don't really know anything about it. I plan on going in kind of blind, because I like going into middle grades really blind, because I know middle grade is usually really fantastical and stuff, and it's just nice to kind of just be dropped into it, because that's usually how the characters are. So, looking forward to this. Not sure completely what it's about, and that's totally fine with me. I also picked up To Like the Lightning by Ada Palmer. This is an adult sci-fi that blends futuristic science fiction with the Enlightenment period, which if you guys are not aware what the Enlightenment period is, it's a kind of like religious and theoretical kind of time period in our culture, and the sound of blending those two things was really interesting to me. I love, obviously, sci-fi, and I also love sci-fi that deals with religion, and this is a very different look at that, and it sounds really interesting. The whole synopsis sounds really awesome. It's about a guy who is a soothsayer, and he has to travel around the world because of this Enlightenment period and the rules, and he's a criminal, he's a convict, and he has to travel around the world doing good, and it sounds really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to it. Again, the author was really amazing. This cover is stunning, and blending something that is from the past with a very futuristic time period is really cool to me, so I'm really looking forward to this one. I also picked up a couple comics related things. So first thing is there was a booth for Image there, and so I got one of the Image Firsts compendiums. So this is a compendium of a bunch of first issues in a bunch of comics. You can try some stuff out. So there is Birthright, Bitch Planet, Copperhead, Descender, The Humans, Nowhere Men, Odyssey, which I didn't like but it's okay, Sunstone, and Wayward. So a bunch of ones that I have heard of and some of them that I haven't. So this is a really good way to try out the art style, try out seeing how the writing is, see if you are really interested in the story without having to buy a bunch of different first issues or having to buy a bunch of different first volumes in trays and then not like it, because trays are expensive. So I knew I wanted to check this one out, and this one had more that I hadn't read in it, where the first volume had a bunch that I had read. So looking forward to this one, because I really want to try out some more Image stuff, and they're my favorite comic book publisher, so this is a perfect way to do that. I also picked up a first issue from Valiant, and that is Faith, and I heard about this months ago on Tumblr. It is about a big girl that is a superhero, and it speaks to me on so many levels, but I never saw it in stores. Valiant isn't a huge publisher by any means, you know, it's not like Marvel or Image even. It's just a little bit smaller, so I didn't hear a ton about this, but having a first issue available to me is really exciting, and I really want to support this one. Hopefully it's good, fingers crossed, but really looking forward to this because I've heard really great things about it. I then picked up Vasa of the Night by Sarah Porter. This comes out in September, and this is based on the Russian folktale of the Baba Yaga myth, if you are not familiar with that. It is a similar situation in Uprooted. Uprooted is based on a lot of like Polish and Russian myths kind of combined. So when I heard this was based on that myth, I knew I had to pick this up. I love the cover and I love Russian folk tales and just like Eastern European folk tales being mixed into things. You don't see that very often. You have a lot of like the Grimm fairy tales retold a million different times, but I never really hear a lot about Baba Yaga. Very, very little. So really looking forward to this one. I think it's going to be kind of creepy, but different and kind of like weird, and I'm very excited about this one. I then picked up Empire of Dust by Eleanor Herman. This is the second book in the Legacy of Kings. I think it's going to be a 6-book series. Oh man, but this is a Alexander the Great retelling, and it's a really epic story, and it's Alexander the Great with a lot of fantasy mixed in, magic, and just a whole new spin. You have like 6 or 7 different POVs, so if different POVs aren't your thing, you're probably not going to like this, but I love the first book so much. It's really interesting. Eleanor Herman is a historian, so she's very familiar with the Alexander the Great myth. She's written articles and stories about it, and she's awesome. So she has a lot of history mixed in with it that is actually historically accurate. And actually, when I went up to talk to her, I asked her a question because Alexander is known for possibly being bisexual, possibly being gay, and I asked her if that's going to be a thing in the series at all, and she was like, hey, I wrote an article on that, and like, you should go and read this. And it's really interesting to be able to talk to an author about something that's very factually based when she is writing like a fantasy story. So I love her. She always comes to her signings dressed up and then like cosplay, and she's awesome. So I'm really looking forward to this one. This is a little bit shorter than the first book was, so I'm a little nervous because I already had to wait a year. So I'm nervous about this one, but also really excited because the first book laid a great foundation for the rest of the series, so I'm really excited to see what happens next. And the final book, which was again another sign from the universe to just chill and everything will work out, and that is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. It comes out in November, and it is a Queen of Hearts retelling. I believe it's going to be a standalone from Marissa Meyer, and I was pretty excited about this one, but again, it was a book that I was like, if I don't get it, it's not a big deal, and I'll survive, it'll come out. But we went to the very first drop for it, and I think we were number 88, 89, and 90 out of 90 arcs that they were giving away. So it was one of those, like, we didn't push anybody, we didn't shove, we didn't run, we didn't like pull anybody's hair, we just walked and we chilled, and it was fine, and we got this, and it's really exciting. I am looking forward to this one. Queen of Hearts, I'm not sure how it's gonna go. I haven't read a lot of like Alice in Wonderland retellings. I'm not super familiar with Alice in Wonderland, honestly, but I really enjoy the Lunar Chronicles series. I'm interested to see what she's going to do with a standalone like this. So that is it for my BEA 2016 book haul. Also, since I didn't do a vlog, I did want to thank everybody that I got to see at BEA. I loved seeing all of my friends that I've met before. I loved meeting so many of you every time someone came up and said hi to me. It was awesome. I just love meeting you guys and getting to put names and faces together and seeing like, oh, we talk on Twitter, and like, oh, you leave really great comments, and everyone was amazing. So I'm going to be doing a little photo montage here of all of the amazing smiling faces I got to meet at BEA. Thank you guys for making it an awesome experience. It was so wonderful to meet all of you, and I love you all so, so much. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye!